Hey, kia ora whānau, how's it going? Welcome back to Word on Monday. This is Lewa here, just doing a continual reflection on the book of James. We started it last week and we're just picking it up again today. And today's section that we're looking at is James chapter 1, 2 to 4. And the backdrop of James, as we recall last week, that James was one of the senior leaders in Jerusalem after Jesus' death, burial, resurrection, and ascension. He met up with Peter in Jerusalem. He also met up with Paul in Jerusalem. If we have a look at through the books or the chapters in Acts, as recorded last week. He's writing to a church that have been dispersed. Believers have been dispersed after the death of one of the disciples, Stephen. Young Stephen, who was a follower of Jesus in the early days, was stoned. Pretty much after that, the church that was gathering, or the people that were gathering together in the synagogues who were believers in Jesus as the Messiah, were starting to get persecuted, and so they dispersed out into Judea and Samaria. And so James is writing to his believers, his church community, and wherever they are, particularly under a season of trials or persecution. And for them, persecution was leading to death. People were getting killed for believing in Jesus as the Messiah, the Christ. So let's read together and just have a quick little reflection about what James's view on trials or persecution for us today. Yeah. Opening up calls it to be joyful, for joys. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith develops perseverance. Perseverance must finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, lacking in nothing. Look at that, beautiful, isn't it? The idea here, the purpose of the trials, the purpose of challenges, the purpose of persecution, the purpose of those seasons and times of hard knocks is to bring maturity, that we're complete, that we lack nothing. And what's that? It's the testing of our faith that leads to perseverance. Whew. And if you lack anything, ask the Lord to give you wisdom about it. I don't know about you, but I'm not joyous when it comes to times of persecution or times of challenges or times where things are not going so well. I tend to ask the question, why is this happening, or why, and question God. But in the context of James's situation, he is realizing the reality for his world and his people that are following the Lord is that you're going to get persecuted. You're going to have trials of all different kinds. And he says to count it a joy. Now, is this foolishness? Is this a mental, psychotic problem? Or is it something else? And maybe it's the attitude that we should have towards those trials and persecutions and tests of different kinds. The attitude in relationship to the forming of our character, that God might be actually doing something through these situations. I recall a number of years ago where I was in dispute with a leader in the work job that I was in, and it wasn't nice. And I could have just buckled my knee. I could have just kept quiet. But there are too many things that were going against my character and what I believed was right. And so I had to make a stand. And making a stand, sometimes you're left by yourself. And it felt like that for a number of years, feeling isolated, feeling alone. It wasn't so joyful. Thankfully, the Lord spoke to us, Joseph and I, through that situation, and over a 10-year period, I can look back now and go, yeah, okay, God was teaching me about something about myself in that. It wasn't so much about the thing that was going on or the characters that were involved in the situation. It was more about me. What is my response? And I can honestly say that that time of trial, that time of testing, that time of challenge was more about the formation of my own character. How am I going to respond? Am I going to reflect principles and values of the kingdom of God, or I'm going to reflect the old nature, the sin nature, the thing of this flesh? Am I going to be bitter? And so here in my life, I see this trial and testing that was going on was about perseverance. And for me, it was about perseverance in faith, perseverance in the goodness of God, perseverance in the faithfulness of God, and to allow that perseverance to continue to do its work to bring maturity. But it's not good going through it. Especially when we live in a world where we like things comfortable. We don't like resistance. We don't like being challenged. We don't like pushback. There is a resistance inside of us to want to change. However, if you see where growth happens in nature, there's resistance in the soil. There's growth in the soil. There's this thing that goes on that we have to bring. For the fruit to come, there has to be some sort of disturbance in the soil, in the garden. And that's the same with our lives. For the fruit to be growing in our lives, there needs to be some disturbance. And it's looking like here in James, that's what he's talking about, the usage, how God uses trials and troubles and conflict and things that we face of many kinds. It's to test our faith. It's to do a work of perseverance. And perseverance leads to maturity that we lack, that is complete and we lack nothing. It's the fullness of righteousness in our lives. So I don't know where you're at, whānau, wherever you are around the world and different countries and the places that you're in and the things that you may be facing at this time. But can I ask you to consider that God might be doing a work in you through whatever that external event is. Next time we'll talk about those internal things that challenge us and, the works of the flesh. But today we're talking about those external things that are pressing on us. Maybe God's doing a work in you and molding you into more like Him today and this week. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Ngā mihi atu kia koutou. Mā ngā manaakitanga o te atua ki rungi au koutou. May the Lord bless you and continue to be upon you at this time. This is the way to go, and you'll be watching Word on Monday. Tēnā koutou. Tēnā koutou. Tēnā tātou katoa. Kia ora.